The following is a live sports event featuring the Abernathy Antelopes or Ladylopes and is under the direction of AA Sports Properties in partnership with Abernathy AISD. This broadcast cannot be reproduced or retransmitted without the written consent of AA Sports Properties. Tonight's broadcast is made possible by the support of our generous sponsors: MC Master Roofing and Construction, South Plains Auto Ranch, First State Bank, Nutrient Ag Solutions, Abernathy First Baptist Church, Storm Guard, Clark Riley Insurance, Able Funeral Home and Flower Shop, Plains Land Bank, JC Refrigeration, Spradlin Spray Service, Vista Bank, Lambert Insurance, The Junkin Farmers Market, Ty Horsford Realtor, and DB Media. Buckle up and enjoy all of the exciting action with the Abernathy Antelopes and Ladylopes.
To Rolando. This time he takes it himself, untouched, into the end zone. Rolando Martinez from 1 yard out, and the Abernathy Antelopes strike first. Comes to Kalen Marshall off the dribble. Mid-range jumper. Marshall gives Abernathy the lead. Snap, he hands it to Rolando. Burst of speed up the middle. Dagger! Touchdown! Superman! Now, second, rolling away in the corner. Flores. It's good! Flores the steal and the three-pointer as time runs out. Flag comes in, the punt is blocked, and it's going to be an Antelope touchdown, barring the penalty, as it's Cash Garcia who blocked it, scooped it, and scored it. But and good evening, Abernathy, Texas, and good evening, fans of the Abernathy Antelopes and Ladylopes. As welcome inside to another episode of Outside the Box, as we've got week 12. It is November 13th. We're inching closer to Thanksgiving chance, and that means we are close to some playoff football as the Abernathy Antelopes get ready to embark on what is hopefully a multiple week playoff run for them, and we'll get into that and scenarios and whatnot as we go along here this evening. But Abernathy, the Antelopes involved in a very anticipated ball game this last Friday night, Chance, and unfortunately for the first time in 7 tries, they came up on the losing end as it was Post knocking off the Abernathy Antelopes in the battle for Antelope supremacy. 21-13, that was the Bold Gold winning the outright District 2A championship, sending Abernathy into that number 2 seed heading into the postseason. And really, Chance, it was a game of missed opportunities, especially early on in the ball game for the Abernathy Antelopes. As you actually outgained Post in total yards, 355 to 307, but it was missed opportunities and 5 turnovers compared to just 1 for Post that really doomed Abernathy.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that, Ty, in the pregame, and also, in last week on Outside the Box, just talking about how protecting the ball and controlling the pace of the game, and we did that early. And then you just, like you said, you get in the red zone in a couple different scenarios, and you're not able to put points on the board, and then, that really hurts you. You really felt like we controlled the majority of the game. It wasn't until about midway through the third quarter where you're like, what's going on here? Like, they're kind of getting some rhythm. Vergara's 2 and 3 yard runs turned into 8 and 12 yard runs, and I think in the second half, Ty, I think he had like 130 something yards rushing compared to 70 in the first half, and so he was really the lone. I don't want to say lone, but he was really your bright spot. Once he got going, it was kind of like the rest of the Post team kind of followed him, and then they kind of did what we expected. They gave it to him, and then they get in the red zone and they just throw one over the top for a little short touchdown, and that was kind of the deciding factor, that last touchdown that they scored to put them ahead.
And I really felt like, Chance, early in the ball game, you left a good 14 or 21 points on the board.
You had Post make a few mistakes. You were able to sustain drives, and on 3 different occasions, you drive into the red zone. You get it into inside the 10-yard line once, if not twice, and all 3 times the Post defense able to turn you away. You really, because at that point Post was not doing anything on offense. You could have easily been up 14 or 21-0 before Post ever even got going, but instead you go into halftime, Chance, trailing Post 7-6 as a late touchdown there in the first half of the ball game gave Post their first lead of the game. And then they would also score first in the third quarter and go up 13-6. And it kind of looked like you had no momentum. You were dead in the water. You engineer a scoring drive. You go down. You put it in the end zone. You tie the game at 13. But then Post, again, behind the strong running of Ian Vergara, he answers. They answer. They get a score and a 2-point conversion. And Abernathy really never could muster up anything after that. Vergara finishes with 222 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns. And while the Abernathy defense, they played well enough to win, it was really the legs of Vergara that got the job done for Post.
It definitely did. And I think two of the things that kind of hurt you, Ty, was, Jake Harkey not being out there. That hurt some depth up front. Some guys were probably a little bit more gassed. I know Jackson Arrington was in and out of the game, and I think part of that was some cramping and maybe getting frogged or something in the leg. So it wasn't anything too serious, but those kind of things hurt you when you don't have some of that depth. And then obviously Rolando coming out about midway through the second quarter. I mean, he ended up having a touchdown there in the second half, but it wasn't to the extent of the fact that he was only in there for that one drive when you get in the red zone. And I think that really does hurt you when you have a guy who runs as hard as he does, having to miss basically the remainder of the game. Not saying Colt didn't go in there and run hard, because he did, but it's just a different style. Rolando's going to give you a little bit more power up the middle. Colt's going to give you that first, second step where he's going to hit that next gear and be able to get to the edge. And Post defense was good. I mean, they came in as advertised. The reason that they're undefeated is they play sound on offense and on defense. They don't make many mistakes, and we saw that with only the one turnover. And even when they had that, they stymied us. They didn't let us score. And they're well coached. I mean, to be able to engineer the drive that they had to score right before half, eat up all the clock, and not give us the opportunity to score, that was just great coaching and great play calling on their end for sure.
Rolando finishes, even though he only played about half the ball game, Chance, he finishes 101 yards on 10 carries. Not a bad stat line for him at all. And we talked about it going in, Chance, that Jagger Wiley was going to have a big game in order for the Abernathy Antelopes to get the win. And obviously, you wouldn't be here without Jagger. He's had a phenomenal season. Not one of his better games on Friday. I mean, still fairly consistent. 14 of 21, 176. Nothing wrong with that. But then the 3 interceptions, really hurt there. Maverick Shadden, a big ball game, 4 catches, 95 yards. And then once again, a strong defensive performance that came up on the short end, but it was anchored by Carson Curry as he finished the night with 8 tackles and 3 assists on the defensive side. But really just inconsistency, good defense by Post, and Abernathy just missed some opportunities, and that's what it boils down to. They tried to get creative with some play calls. Post was able to sniff it out, and it didn't work. And like you said, the injuries to Rolando and Arrington in the ballgame hurt you. I think they're both going to be back on Friday, so that's good news for the Antelopes if that plays out. But yeah, it hurts you not having them on the field.
It definitely did, and I think to Ty, the 3 interceptions were tough. I think the one of them was right before half. It was kind of like
a punt.
It was like a punt. The one that hurt you was the one that was kind of in the red zone, and then the other one at the end of the game. You had a little bit of time to try to go down there and score, and I don't know if it was just that linebacker made a good play. Wiley, he saw the receiver that he wanted to throw it to, and he just didn't see that linebacker drifting back and was able to jump up and make that interception. And so those things are going to happen. He's still a young quarterback, and you're playing against a good defense who's kind of had a lot of the momentum, and I'm sure their coaches kind of saw some of that on film, but definitely going to have a better game from them coming up against West Texas and that. And like you said, having Arrington and having Rolando back is definitely going to go a long ways for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As you just mentioned it, the Antelopes will play the West Texas High Comanches in round one of the playoffs come Friday night. We'll preview that one a little bit later in the show. Chance, the way the rest of our district kind of finished up the regular season on Friday night, it was New Home at home taking care of business against the Olton Mustangs. Looks like a solid defensive performance by the Leopards, 21-2, the final score in that one. That clinched third place heading into the postseason for New Home. They're going to meet Panhandle in the first round of the playoffs. And then Olton, that sent them into that number 4 spot, and they will meet District 1's top seed and really one of the favorites to come out of Region 1, the Sunray Bobcats, in the first round of the playoffs. And then you have the New Deal Lions, Chance. They avoid the winless season. It was the bad battle of winless teams in District, Floydada and New Deal. And they had a good one.
They did.
It was the Lions getting a 30-27 win over Floydada to round out both of their seasons.
Yeah, and I think that probably meant a lot to New Home getting that victory going into playoffs. They had a tough sled, playing 2 tight games versus us and Post. That probably hurts them. They're probably going into the playoffs thinking,
they could have won both of those.
Yeah,
games.
They're probably going into the playoffs thinking we could have easily, possibly been a district champion or a tie for the district, and instead they're going as a 3 seed. That Panhandle team's going to be tough, and Olton facing Sunray, those are going to be very, very tough games. The point spread's probably going to be ridiculous for the Olton Sunray game, but I'll say this: if Olton can put pressure on Lujan, kind of like how he did against us a little bit, I think that they'll be okay. I don't think it's going to be anything major, but I think that those two teams are going to hold their own. But we'll kind of preview that here in a little bit. But yeah, Ty Nudo got that. They didn't go winless. Felt bad for my Lions, but I wasn't expecting the game to be that close. I thought Floydada was going to win. I don't know about the injuries from New Deal, but I bet both those teams are, and coaches were excited just playing for some pride there to finish the season for sure.
We're going to quickly run through the Region 1 playoff matchups out of Class 2A Division 1 and give you some quick predictions. We like to make predictions here on the show, and then the next week we figure out how much we don't know. But
hey, we've been pretty close sometimes.
Hey, we have been pretty close. You're right. Give us a little bit of credit. But you mentioned Sunray and Olton. They're doing battle in round 1. That's a 1 versus 4 matchup. And Chance, I've got Sunray winning big 46-7 over the Mustangs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing. I think it may be a little tight in the first quarter, but once Sunray starts putting points on the board, that really helps their defense kind of pin their ears back and put a lot of pressure. I think 49-6. I think Olton will be able to score a touchdown. It'll probably be late, but I think it's going to be a kind of a runaway, honestly, if Lujan has the kind of game he's been having against basically everybody in this area. So
yeah, no doubt. And then you've got Hawley and Ozona, Chance. That is kind of districts 3 and 4, just like our district matches up with District 1. Districts 3 and 4 matchup. Hawley, a team in recent years, has really put together some nice runs, and I think the Hawley Bearcats are going to get a big win over the Ozona Lions. 54-7 is how I have that one playing out.
I got a little bit closer. Hawley's played good, but they're not putting as much points up as they have in years past. Not saying that they can't, but I think they're going to win. But I think it's going to be a 38-20 team. I'm not sure about Ozona. They're that third place team out of their district. But
that wild card District 3.
That District 3 was kind of crazy. It was all over the place. Ozona could have been second or third or fourth or whatever it may be, and Four Saints was in, and then the last game of the season they're out, and it's kind of a crazy deal. But I think it's going to be a little bit closer, so I think Hawley will win it, though, 38-20.
And then you've got Post and Spearman, Chance. If there was a 4-1 matchup that I thought the 4 had a shot to pull the upset, this would be the one I would circle. I do have Post winning, but I do think Spearman, those Panhandle teams, and we're going to talk about that with West Texas here in a little bit, those Panhandle teams are just tough. And sometimes the 3rd and 4 seeds in those districts, when you're in districts with the Childresses and Stratfords and Sunrays and Canadians, sometimes those 3 and 4 seeds are really good football teams. And so you've got Post and Spearman. I do have Post getting by the Lynx 28-20, but I think it might be a little closer than some people think.
Yeah, I think that Spearman's defense is going to be pretty decent. I do think Post is going to kind of top them by 2 touchdowns, 34-20. But I think it's one of those games where Post is probably going to go in wanting to prove a point. They're 10-0, the only undefeated team in our South Plains area. There's some undefeated teams in the Panhandle like Sunray, but I think they're going to go in with a chip on their shoulder. Like, we're not ranked. You haven't even had any talks about us in Dave Campbell's or anything like that. So I think they're going to go out there and try to prove some stuff. But it just kind of depends on, those Friday night lights in the playoffs go, hit a little bit harder. So it depends on what team shows.
One bad game and you're done.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
So absolutely. You've got Cristobal and Anson doing battle, and I think it's Anson, Chance. Again, Cristobal, one of those teams from District 3 that we just really don't know anything about. Anson has kind of had an up-and-down season. I'm going to go with Anson 42-17, though.
Yeah, I got Anson 34-21. Little, back and forth. Anson's a 3-seed. Cristobal's a 2-seed, I believe, out of that district. And so we're kind of, I don't know if you would call that an upset, though, Ty, picking the 3-seed over the 2-seed, but I just think Anson is coming from a stronger district.
Yeah.
They're in the same district with Hawley and Stanford, which they're both ranked, so it's similar to District 1, with Sunray and Panhandle. But I think Anson will pull away on that one, 34-21.
Well, and this next one, Chance, is another 4-1 ball game, and I almost went with the 4 in this one, and it might have made me look ridiculous. But it's Reagan County, which is the number 1 seed out of District 3, going up against a traditional power in Cisco. They are the 4 seed out of District 4. They are way down this year compared to some of their teams of past. I think that's going to be a really good ball game. I've got Reagan County surviving the upset bid by Cisco 28-27.
Yeah, you have that game a lot closer than me. I think it's going to be 34-16. I think that Reagan County may be better than we're expecting them to be.
And they very well might be.
And that's a team that we, likely, you go out and take care of business Friday, that's a team that we may face. But you don't want to kind of put the cart before the horse on that one. But I think they're going to take care of business against Cisco 34-16.
And next, you got Abernathy WT. We're going to make you wait for our projections on that one.
Got to wait till the end of the show.
You got to stick around until the end. And then the last two in this region, Chance, you've got Stanford, which if Sunray's not the favorite to come out of the region, it's Stanford.
For sure.
As Stanford, the number 1 team in the state, I've got them big over Sonora in a 1-4 matchup, 63-6. I think Stanford flexes their muscle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a blowout too, 48-8. Not sure if they'll put up the 60. They probably could, but with it being playoffs, I don't know if they'll let those starters play deep into the game if they get a big lead just to secure some of the injury stuff like that. So I have them winning big though, 48-8.
And last but not least, that Panhandle New Home game to round out the Region 1, that could be interesting. If New Home can keep it close, they've got a gritty defense.
They got a good quarterback.
They've got a good quarterback.
So does Panhandle.
And that could be an interesting matchup. I think that's one that Panhandle and New Home might battle close for a while. But I do have Panhandle pulling away for a 42-21 win over the Leopards.
Yeah, I have it a little bit closer. I have it a 10-point game, 38-28. I think that New Home, same thing with Post. Like, Post isn't getting recognized for being undefeated. I think New Home feels like we're not getting any love because we lost some close games. But at the same time, it depends on what team shows up. It depends on how healthy they are. And how much time they give Cook in the pocket. Because if you let him cook, it could be a closer game. But I do have Panhandle winning that one, 38-28.
And Chance, just kind of an overview when you look at Region 1, then I promise we'll move on to our around AISD. We could talk football.
For sure.
We talk about it all week, and we just try and condense it into about a 20-minute little session here. But we kind of mentioned it early. Most prognosticators before the season started and even now, coming out of Region 1, in most cases, most pick either Stanford or Sunray. I think out of 6 people picking in Dave Campbell's, you had 3 pick Stanford and 3 pick Sunray.
Yep.
Those are by far the favorite, and they've been the favorite all year long. Hawley, Panhandle, Post also. Again, they're the team that's kind of flying under the radar. It'll be interesting to see what Post's playoff run looks like. We've talked about the question mark around District 3. We just don't know how good Reagan County, Cristobal, Ozona, and Sonora are. Because then you've got Forsan, a team that finishes 4th in that district and misses the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, tied for 4th.
They play Post to a 2-point game the second game of the year.
Yeah. And
so, we just don't really know about that district.
Well, and you don't know, I mean, you have some instances where, like, you have the likes of teams that probably dealt with maybe some academic issues, some injury issues. And we saw that with some teams in our district as well. Floydada was shorthanded due to injuries and some academics. You had New Deal who was shorthanded due to some injuries. Same thing could have happened to Force Hands. They could have been really good early in the season against Post and then lost some things. But I think the Reagan County team is probably ahead of the rest of those teams. My opinion on the Sunray, Stanford, Hawley, Panhandle, I think no matter how you slice the pie, Sunray is probably going to be the funner team to watch, if you want to put it that way.
Flashier team.
Yeah, flashier team with Lujan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stanford's going to be one of those guys that they kind of line up and they run the ball. They're kind of like overpowering. Yep. Hawley has the experience similar to Sunray in the playoffs. They kind of know what it's like because they have gone on those runs. They have a really good quarterback, and their running back's pretty good too. There's a lot of teams that picked Hawley to beat Stanford. The last game of the week, there was a lot of people that were thinking that was going to happen. But the benefit you do have, though, Ty, is they're going to face each other in the second round. Mm-hmm. Sunray's going to end up playing somebody in the second round, and Panhandle and Stanford are going to end up playing. So you're going to have a matchup to where those two teams are going to face each other. So if you get 3-4 rounds into the playoffs, you're only going to have to beat one of them essentially, or two of them instead of all four of them. And the way they did the redistricting, that's just how it worked out. And so you're going to get area matchups with 4 teams that are that are really good, that are top 6 in the state essentially.
Yeah. And when you look at the playoff picture as a whole chance from Abernathy's perspective, obviously we're not going to look past West Texas. That's going to be a tough game in its own right. We'll preview that one here in a little bit. If you get past WT, you're going to play that number 1 seed out of District 3 more than likely, barring an upset. Mm-hmm. You're going to get Reagan County in the second round. And then if you're fortunate enough to get to the third round, if favorites went out, you do have Stanford waiting in that round 3.
Stanford or Panhandle is going to be the team that you're going to face. And then if you win that one, it's going to be probably Hawley or Sunray. Yeah. So you would play them in back-to-back weeks, one of those teams. But like I said, you don't have to play all 4 of them. You're just going to end up playing 2 of them likely. And I think if we play Antelope defense the way we have been and our offense shows up and everybody stays healthy, I think we got a good shot at least to be playing on to Thanksgiving. That's my opinion. But like you said, you want to take care of business Friday. And then if you do face that Reagan County team, I kind of did some research on them. They have a kid, Ty, he has some D1 offers. He's a big boy. He's about 6'4". He's a receiver. He's played some quarterback too, but he's an athlete, and he'll fill up the stat sheet if you let him, and I think he kind of leads the way for them, for that Reagan County team. But like I said, we got to take care of business Friday. That's all that matters right now.
Yep, that is all that matters is the Comanches of West Texas are on the docket. Well, we're fixing to take our first break of the program, and we will come back, and lots, as always, going on around Abernathy ISD, so we'll chat about that here in just a minute. You're listening to Outside the Box.
At Nutrien Ag Solutions, we are proud to be known as the ag retailer of the future and are committed to helping growers meet their full potential. We consistently provide the best performing chemical, fertilizer, and seed products, financing programs, and second-to-none technology. With 6 locations nearby, Nutrien Ag Solutions is ready to serve you with all of your agricultural needs. David Carver and his team are thankful for the customers who continue to trust Nutrien with their business. We are wishing the Antelopes and Lady Lopes an incredible and blessed year.
For over 100 years, Plains Land Bank has specialized in financing rural property. We are passionate about agriculture and ensuring that producers are successful. Your land is more than just your livelihood, it's your legacy, and we want to see it grow for generations to come. Let us help you own a piece of Texas. Come visit our Plainview office today or give us a call at 806-296-5579. At Plains Land Bank, we are a proud supporter of our West Texas High School student athletes.
And welcome back to Outside the Box, Ty. Let's kind of look around AISD, and as always, we got to finish up with some sub-varsity football.
For the final time this year.
Final time this year. They're moving on. They finished strong, hard-fought games for all 3 of them. We had 2 W's and 1 loss, 7th grade. Unfortunate, they kind of, not only was Thursday a nasty weather day, but they had minimum fans and no cheerleaders because they had to go to sundown because Post didn't have a 7th grade team. But They jumped out early on Sundown. They were led by Maddox Waldrip. He had 2 passing touchdowns, and Drake Warner had 1 rushing touchdown. They played a strong defensive game, but the Roughnecks of Sundown battled back and were able to go ahead 26-22, and the Lopes tried to go ahead in the final 30 seconds of the game from about 30 yards out. They tried to convert for a touchdown, and the pass fell incomplete. So tough loss for the 7th graders, losing their final game of the season, but hard-fought season. They had a lot of bright spots, and that's some good kids out there and some good boys playing hard all season long. So excited for them next year for 8th grade. That 8th grade group tie, they had the tie earlier this year. Then they lose to New Deal, and then they've just been on a tear. And I think that losing taste in their mouth, they definitely didn't like it. And so they kind of showed out again on Friday. It was kind of a crazy game with it being super cold. Post had the ball the entire first quarter. We didn't even touch it. And then talk about efficiency from the Antelope 8th grade offense. The first possession, first play, Aiden Villarreal goes 90 yards for a touchdown. And then right back after that first play, we throw a 60-yard touchdown to Isaac Reno. And so after that, it was kind of all said and done. The Abernathy Antelope 8th graders, they finished their 8th grade career with the W 52-6 over the Post Bold Gold Antelopes. And so exciting for those young guys. I know a lot of them are looking forward to getting into high school and possibly, hopefully trying to, everyone talks about, I want to be on varsity my freshman year. That's like the big goal for a young man. But, I tell those guys, with my daughter being in 8th grade, I said, hey, look, no matter what happens, you want to play. You want to get playing time. So regardless if it's JV or varsity, you just continue to shoot for your goals and do what your coaches ask you to. So, but they played great, and they finished their career great. And the JV, they won. They're without their quarterback that they had all year, him being moved up.
Winning.
And they're still winning. And so they had a solid performance. They went 2 posts. Their game got delayed by quite a bit because of the weather, but they ended up winning 28-8.
So a solid finish to the regular season
For sure.
for our junior high clubs. Chance, especially on the girls' side, things are really heating up in the gym and on the hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked a lot about the just rigorous non-district schedule that your Abernathy Lady Lopes are playing, and they are off to a 3-1 start on the season. Since the last time we were together here on Outside the Box, they hosted Estacado on Saturday evening, Chance, in Abernathy behind 40 points from McKaylin Marshall, get a 76-58 win over the Lady Matadors. That gets Abernathy to 3-0. They were just dominant in that ball game. And then last night, Chance, they played arguably their toughest competition to date as they played the number 11 team in the state in Class 4A, the Lady Raiders of Canyon Randall. And that was a ball game that Abernathy fell down early. They battle back. They do a good job rallying off. They ultimately fall just short, 65-62. That game was 36-23 at the half. So it was a big second half for the Abernathy Lady Lopes. Another strong performance by McKaylin Marshall, 30 points. But tell you what, Chance, Randall had a point guard that she was hitting them from left, right, straight on, falling back, diving forward.
Everything.
She put up a 40-piece for the Randall Lady Raiders and gave Abernathy their first loss of the season. Bree Shorter also played really, really well last night against Randall, especially on the defensive side for the Abernathy Lady Lopes. Doesn't get any easier. Next week, they go to Canyon and battle the tradition-rich Canyon Eagles.
Yeah.
As I think
they're ranked higher than
Randall was 11. I think Canyon's like 7.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get any easier for the Abernathy Lady Lopes.
They're perennial. I mean, those Canyon teams are just great. Those Panhandle teams are awesome. But, credit to McKaylin. I mean, what is that tie? She's put up a 50-point game, a 40-point game, and a 30-point game.
Twice.
And so, yeah, you're 4 games in the season, and she's just filling up the stat sheet. And when we talked about it, the things are kind of running through her, but you're having some great performances, especially from the rest of the Lopes. And I saw you talked about Bree Shorter. I think she's averaging like 3 or 4 steals a game, which if you have, a defense that one of your girls is averaging that many steals, that just goes to show you, that they're being coached very well and very tough, and especially against the competition they're facing. And so I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but we got bumped up. I mean, when you're playing that kind of competition, Ty, and you're winning games against those bigger schools,
take notice.
They do. And so we took a big jump in the rankings. Where were we in the 20s? and we jump up to number 9 in the latest TABC poll. And so credit to them for their hard work that they've been putting in. And now, the state's kind of taking some recognition to that. And so also, Ty, the Lubbock AJ put out their top returning starters. And, of course, McKaylin Marshall, last season she averaged 22 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 assists a game. And I think she's probably going to average a little bit more points this season, if I was guessing just from what we're seeing so far.
Honestly, and she's an improved ball player.
Yeah.
She was good last year. She's improved quite a bit from what I've seen.
For sure. And so she's one of the top returning starters. And there was quite a few, your Aaliyah Chavez and things like that. But from our district that we're going to face, there was just 2. It was McKaylin, and then a young lady from New Deal, Macy Burkhead, is also one of the highlights. So when we face that New Deal team, that'll be a name to listen for. And also, McKaylin is up for AJ Female Athlete of the Week after her performance that she had. And so go vote for her. The polls close tomorrow at 5 p.m. So go vote for McKaylin for Athlete of the Week.
As the JV girls basketball season's in full swing as well, Chance. And I saw the last part of their ball game against Canyon Randall last night, and it was an exciting ball game. And that's a big win for the Lady Lope JV team, as you've got a couple of your freshman leaders that are playing on varsity this year. And the JV goes in, and they get a 32-30 win over the Canyon Randall JV squad. And so that bodes well for the future of Lady Lope basketball for sure. And then on the junior high side, the Lady Lopes will begin their season on Thursday, tomorrow night, as they play New Deal. They'll play New Home.
Yeah.
And then they'll play New Home here. And then on the 18th, they go to New Deal, and they will battle the Lady Lions. So junior high, JV, varsity, especially on the girls' side, they're ramping up
for sure.
Chance. And then on the boys' side, we're still a week or so out from getting things kicked off. The junior high boys will begin their season on the 18th, along with the girls at New Deal, as that's when the junior high boys will begin their season. And then we're actually still 2 weeks out. As hoping for a little bit of a playoff run in football before we get basketball started. But the JV and varsity boys will begin their season on the 25th.
Set to start.
Yeah, set to start. And they probably will, even if it's with an abbreviated team.
Right.
I would assume against Littlefield on the 25th of November. You mentioned on the girls' side, Chance, the top returners in the district. The Avalanche Journal came out with the same list on the boys' side, and there's a slew of them on the boys' side out of District 4, led by the sophomore for the Antelopes, Darian Duval. He had 15 points a game a season ago. And then you've got a senior from New Home and Caleb Cook.
Yeah, we know about him.
Going to get cooked on the basketball court, too. And a couple from Floydada seniors, Ty Henderson, which is their quarterback. It will be interesting to see how he is health-wise, as he got hurt in that game against the Antelopes. And then Bron Hobbs, and then you've got Gunnar Stanton, maybe my favorite name in the district, as he's a senior from New Deal. He had 15 a game a year ago.
Yeah, there's going to, you drop down. The girls' side isn't going to be probably as tough as it was, Ty. You had, New Home should be good. They didn't really have any top returners, and then Floydada should be decent. But I think the boys' side, it's probably going to be a little bit a similar competition. Floydada's always been good, and then obviously New Home. I think they went to state last year, if I'm not mistaken, or at least made the regional tournament or the state tournament. And so there's going to be some tough squads that you're going to face up, and hopefully we don't have to think about round ball for a few more weeks' time, maybe till after.
Just the Lady Lopes.
Yeah, just the Lady Lopes. But for the boys, hopefully we don't have to think about it for a while. But when we do, it's going to be full-fledged. There's going to be some good games out there I'm anticipating for sure.
And, Chance, you can speak to this because your daughter's a part of the fun of middle school OAP.
OAP, one-act play.
One-act play, as they had a successful run last Saturday in their competition. They finished second place, and we talked a week ago about how entertaining their production was, and they had some individual awards as well.
They did. It was an awesome production. They did a type of Peter and Wendy, and they did a great job. And like you said, they came away with second place, I think, out of 4 or 5 teams. So they did great. And then they had numerous individual awards. I know Bo Holder, Kaylee Luera, Camilla Yates, Beth Spear, and Molly Vincent really showed out. And I'll tell you what, the lines that Bo and Kaylee had to remember was astronomical. I was thinking, I don't know how y'all remembered all those things, but and just those and the mannerisms. And I'll tell you, I think my favorite part, Lakin did great as Captain Hook. Her and Caitlin Spradley, they were Captain Hook and Smee, and they did a great job. But Molly Vincent, at a lot of times, stole the show. She played Tinkerbell, and she didn't speak a lot. But oh my goodness, her facial expressions, it was just, they were on point, and that was a great role for her. And so I think that's one of the reasons she earned one of those awards as well. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Chance, there's students all over Abernathy doing well at the highest level, elementary, middle school, high school, it doesn't matter. Taffy competed this last week, and that is the Texas Association of Future Educators. And that is a high school team made up, or that is coached by Aaron Perales and Belinda Prater in the high school, Chance. And Aaron sent me a list of students that participated this last weekend in their taffy competition. And first of all, Abernathy as a team was named the Cactus Award winner, and he let me know that meant they were the only school in the competition that actually had every single member of their taffy program advance to state.
Man.
And so I've got a whole list of kids that I'm fixing to quickly list for you here, but all of them will participate in the state taffy meet in Galveston coming up in February.
That'll be a fun trip.
A beach trip in
there
February. But you've got Jacob Dolly, Marcus Paez, River Vosick, Ryan Gonzalez, Ava Wickenden, Katie Timms, London Cairo, Presley Mora, Kate Warren, Lee Massey, Kristen Tuttle, Kinsey Steffi, Aaron Yanni, Miracle Minor, Estella Carrasco, Kinley Sires, Emmy Easterwood, Amaya Delgado, Kara Phillips, Lacey Bloskus, Cameron Villanueva, Henley Sterner, Catherine Gonzalez, Emma Revilla, Marie Uresti, and Natalie Maldonado, all state qualifiers.
That's a long list, Ty.
From Taffy. And so just an excellent job all the way around. Abernathy's getting it done not only on the field, on the court, but in other extracurriculars as well. Those are the things that are going to get you far in life.
For sure. Those things are important, and it just goes to show you that there's so many opportunities outside of just athletics, and that's kind of why we always talk about it. That's why we wanted to do the show, is to highlight all of those things. One other thing I did want to highlight, we didn't put it on our little script here, Todd, but I know good luck. They have middle school honor bands tryouts are this Saturday, so all those kiddos that are out there, good luck to them and on the honor band tryouts that are coming up this weekend.
As we're going to talk about Abernathy and West Texas and kind of preview that matchup coming up here in just a minute, Chance. But we want to kind of transition into that by just recognizing those seniors that were recognized before the ball game on Friday night against Post. It was senior night, and so they take the opportunity to represent not only the senior football players and cheerleaders and cross-country members and volleyball players, but also their parents.
Yeah.
Their parents get to take part in that celebration as well, and well-deserved, because lots of hours spent by those parents getting kiddos all over the place and watching and supporting and doing all the things. And so we put together a little bit of a montage or a tribute, if you will, to recognize and just kind of honor these seniors that were recognized on senior night. So we'll kind of transition into the last part of our program by doing that. So take a look. And all you senior parents out there, hopefully there's that's you just got something in your eye. I'm pretty sure you're not crying.
That's West Texas in my eye. That's what that is.
There you go, West Texas in my eye. Hey, a huge shout out and special thank you to Rena Ray Photography. Henry, so gracious to let us use those photos that he took on Friday night, and he was super helpful in getting that put together. So thanks to those, and obviously thanks to the seniors. There's lots of more memories yet to be made
for sure
in football and basketball and baseball and everything in between.
Yep.
So we will continue to follow those things here on Outside the Box, Chance. And as we kind of wrap up our show here in the last portion, we're going to preview the West Texas High Comanches as Abernathy, the number 2 seed out of District 2, set to face the 3rd seeded Comanches out of District 1. That game's going to be Friday night, 7 o'clock in Hereford at Whiteface Stadium. Got the email today, Chance, from UIL saying we're good to go, and we got the A-OK. And,
for Friday night.
For Friday night, and so we will be there, and we will be able to cover the Antelope starting with a 6:45 pregame show prior to that 7 o'clock kickoff. So if you don't go to Hereford, we've got a date on Friday night.
There
But let's talk a little bit about it, Chance. And we mentioned it early on. Those teams from the Panhandle, they're pesky. And our I don't know what you're our history guru. I'm gonna put you on that, Chance, the sports historian.
Oh, man.
Our record against those teams from the Panhandle is not very good. That they just always play really tough football. Again, you get some 3 and 4 seeds that play in districts with those Canadians and Stratfords and
Childresses,
whoever, and they would win a lot of districts. Those 3 and 4 seeds,
Yep.
and so you've got a team from Stinnett, Chance, that is pretty good. They come into the playoffs with a very similar body of work as the Antelopes. Both teams coming into the matchup at 7-3 overall, and they lost 2 district games. We lost 1. Their 2 losses were Panhandle and Sunray.
Yeah.
So,
and then their other loss was to Groover, who is 3 in the state, and
so very similar to Abernathy.
Yeah, very similar. We lose to 2 ranked ball clubs, and then you have the loss to Post, who's an undefeated team, and so that's why I say it's very similar. Their games are just kind of their record and
They're
some
hard
of their
to figure out.
Yeah, they are. They average about 40 points a game, but they've scored 60 points in 4 games. But they're also giving up almost 35 points a game.
Score a lot, give up a lot.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of those things to where they're used to playing in those back and forth ball games, and so it's not something you want to kind of lean into. But then they play against Spearman, and they win a close one, 28-27, to a Spearman team that, like you said, is only 5-5. They're not just blowing you out of the water, but they're a sound team as well, and that's just, a team that Post is going to have to play. But I think the game on their schedule, Ty, that was kind of the most deceiving, and it was early on. It was either the first or second game. They beat a Lockney team 30-25, which Lockney's a team I think that won 4 games. They didn't even make the playoffs, and so. But then they go up and put 60 points on Shamrock, and so I'm not sure what to see from them. But I can tell you, and we'll kind of get into this. They're led by their quarterback. He's kind of a do-it-all guy.
100%.
Cade Winters, he's a true dual-threat guy. He ran the ball 32 times against Spearman.
That is nuts.
For a quarterback.
To put that in perspective, that's probably 10 more carries than Rolando's had in a game this season.
Yeah, I think the most carries Rolando had was 27 in one game. And so, and it wasn't just against Spearman. He has a lot of carries the majority of the games, and part of those are scripted design runs. And it's not just he's running for 2 yards. He had 32 carries for almost 200 yards, 190 basically. And so they're not all scripted. Some of them are. It looks like a wildcat when you look at the film. Mm-hmm. But then some of them are, if there's coverage, he's just going to take off on you.
He doesn't beat around the bush.
No, he just takes off, yeah. And he's not a big guy, but he runs hard and he's quick. But then they have a running back. He's going to get the ball 10 to 15 times a game too. Kelby Sherwood, he's not a big guy either, but he's pretty good runner. But I don't think he's their decido factor. I think it all starts and ends with Cade Winters, their quarterback, Ty.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they do throw it, they've got a receiver in the likes of Cooper Hernandez, that'll probably be the favorite target. He had 80 receiving yards on 3 catches in a game against Panhandle earlier in the season. And Chance, I was reading an article from Press Pass Sports earlier today about this West Texas team. And this senior class for the Comanches, as freshmen, they went 0-10. And they've just gradually improved. They've gradually gotten better. And now they're leading a Comanche team into the playoffs at 7-3. And you've got to, and obviously you got to play the games.
Yeah.
But you've probably got an Abernathy team and a Comanche team feeling like, man, if we can win this first one, we got a chance to go on a little bit of a run and make some noise in the postseason. And so you've got a good team in West Texas across the way.
I think they are, and I think the thing that you're going to have to look at, Ty, is you can't go in trying to play their game. You know, if they want to shoot out, we've won some of those ones against Farwell. I wouldn't really call the one against New Home a shootout. I mean, because we haven't put up close to that amount of points.
I don't know if my heart can take it, Chance.
I don't either. I mean, we put up 60, but that's against a Floydada team that really wasn't showing anything. They put up 60 in a game, but they also allowed 52. You know, and I don't think that's going to be a recipe for winning at all. You know, some of the keys to the game, Ty, we got to stay true to our defensive assignments, especially when we have a quarterback that likes to run the ball. They're going to tell him to run it, and then a lot of times he's just going to improvise. And if you're not keeping in your gaps and you're not staying with your assignments, it can be very dangerous for the Lopes.
You know, and another key to the game, Chance, games like this, the emotions are so high, especially starting the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's some early game jitters. This is just not a team that I think you want to play from behind against, because then they can just settle into what they do, and it's going to be really hard to come back if you fall behind. So don't get in an early hole. Don't turn the ball over. The Antelopes coming on, and turnovers have not been a problem for Abernathy, but you've got to get the 5 turnover performance against Post out of your head.
Short memory,
and get that out of your system. And then Chance, you mentioned it. I don't think you want to try and outscore WT. If you get into a score fest, I think that favors the Comanches. But also, you alluded to it, you want to control the pace of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that against Post, and you really didn't do it. The way it turned out, kind of Post did what they wanted to do.
Yeah, you did early.
You did early, but then when Post was successful, they kind of flipped the script on you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Abernathy needs a lot of big plays. They don't have to be flashy. Get first downs, extend drives, keep their offense off the field, and give your defense, even though we've got a lot of guys playing both ways, give your defense a little bit of a break.
Well, give them a break, because they're going to be chasing the quarterback around a lot, and that just goes from looking at a lot of their game tape and things like that. And I think that when you look at it from that perspective, Ty, you want to be able to really just contain him. And also, if he's running all over the place, that's eating up the clock, number one, and that's keeping us off the field. So like you said, it kind of flips the script on what you want to do. I think that looking at what they've struggled with is tough defenses, and that was Sunray and Panhandle and Groover.
That bodes well for our
and that does bode well for us, because you go against a team like Post, who has been scoring like crazy on every single team, and they shouldn't have scored 21 points on us. They did, but I think that, like you said, if you would have been able to put some points up early like we had the opportunity to, that's when your defense can get a little bit more creative and can kind of play with their ears pinned back and kind of go after them. But nevertheless, if we hold them to 20 points, I think you're going to win that ball game.
Oh, I absolutely think if you hold them to 20, I feel really good about our chances. I think it's probably easier said than done. We both made our picks, Chance, and I'm going to be honest. I don't even like the picks that I made. Like I don't even know if I believe this, even going as I'm fixing to tell you. But I do have Abernathy winning.
I like to hear that.
I do have the Antelopes winning. I have Abernathy 36-35 in overtime chances. I mean, if that's what
my heart can't handle that.
If that's what it takes, and we win, sign me up. I'm okay with it. But I do have 36-35, and I was telling my wife that earlier today, and she said, Now, how do you think it's going to get to be 37? I said, well, it's going to go into overtime, tied at 28. WT's going to get the ball first. They're going to score, go up 35-28. Abernathy's going to respond, go for 2. Not stressful at all.
No.
But no, I do think it could potentially be a nail biter.
It could be, and I think you're looking at it from the cardiac kid perspective, like we had it all season, where you have those tough games. You know, the comeback against Farwell, you have the comeback against New Home, and I think, you know, for us, if our defense shows up and plays even like they played last week, I think if we hold them to 20, and that's kind of my pick, I think we're going to score 34. And they're going to score 20, and we're going to come up, you know, a 2-touchdown victory for the Lopes. And I just think that it's going to be one of those things to where we're going to control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side, and it's going to kind of open things up on the offensive side for us, because I feel like if Orlando's healthy, he's going to have a big game. And I also think you're going to have some thunder and lightning. I think that Colt Mitchell-Lady is going to get some more carries, and we're going to have some flashes that we see from him as well.
I like your pick better.
Well, I do too, because it's a little less stressful, but also,
I just want a W. I just want to extend the season.
That's all that matters. Extending that season, getting on to the next round, and it, you know, could be a Reagan County team, but who knows? We could have an upset, and it could be Cisco.
Yep, absolutely. Anything goes in the postseason, and that's why they play the games. And that brings us to the end of, what is it, episode 12, I think we said?
We made it 12 weeks, Ty.
We made it 12 weeks.
A dozen.
So I guess we'll make it 13 next Wednesday night. We'll be back here at 8:30. As always, you can catch the recording on our YouTube page, this page that you're watching. If you miss it, like it, share it, do all the things, Chance. And we'll next be with you on Friday night from Hereford, Texas, as Abernathy takes on those West Texas High Comanches in the bi-district round of the playoffs. It should be fun.
It should be fun, and Tom, excited for it, excited to head to Hereford. And like you said, if you can't make the trip, be sure to tune in, and we'll definitely give you a good broadcast. We have a little bit of changes that are going to be seen on the screen, huh, Ty?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And
we'll give you a hint. Not back by popular demand, but by popular demand.
Yeah.
Lots of requests. So
yeah.
Tune in for that.
Tune in for that. And then I have one last shout out. Shout out to my nephew, Caden Shannon. He's playing for Glen Rose tomorrow night. They're in the first round of the playoffs against Eagle Mountain. And so the Glen Rose Tigers, shout out to him. Hopefully they come up with a W and they move on to the next round, which they'll likely face a Seminole team. So,
which will be a really good Seminole team.
It will be. They've beat them the last 2 years to win the region. And so they're facing them a little bit early. They're the 1 seed coming out of their district, and Seminole ended up losing that game to Midland Greenwood. And so Seminole has a little bit tougher of a route because they had that loss. They didn't win district this year. Yep. And so, but shout out to Caden. Hope you have a good game. Maybe another interception and some big plays. So
with that, we will say good night.
God bless.
And go Lopes.